Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Rude and the Crew and the Socially Unacceptable. It's the Conscious Effort Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Hardwick. Alongside me, Kendall Bratton, Carlos Sanchez hiding over here behind the board. And today's guest is a country artist coming to us from Orleans. His name is Logan McKeighen. And before we get too deep, we have a reminder you can find every episode of the Conscious Effort Podcast at consciouseffortcreative.com. And you can like us, you can follow us, and you can subscribe on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. So, that said, I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. McKeighen. How are you today?
Pretty good, man. Thanks for having me.
Nice to have you here. So, let's just jump in head first here. For everybody in our audience that does not yet know, you have an EP out, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Can you tell me a bit about that?
I recorded in Nashville in 2020. And, yeah, man, it was a 5-song EP and recorded it with Dean Miller.
What's the name of it again? Where can people find it?
Orange County Line.
Orange County Line. Where can people go find that if they want to listen to it?
It's everywhere, man. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, everywhere.
Spotify was where I was listening to it. I was checking it out at the gym today before I came here again.
Yeah. Spotify's, yeah.
So, you said you recorded this down in...
Nashville. Yep, Omni Sound Studios.
I was going to say, it sounds like true blue Nashville country. It reminds me of what I grew up hearing my mother play a lot.
It is. It's got like that, it's kind of got like that traditional twist on it too. I feel like it kind of strays away a little bit from more like the mainstream stuff you'd hear, but it still has that modern type of twist on it.
It does. The mainstream stuff sometimes today has a little bit more of a rock kind of feel. This reminds me a little bit more of like maybe a 90s, early 2000s kind of country.
Yeah, that's
was that some of your inspiration behind it?
Yeah, man, I feel like that was kind of like the golden era for country anyway, so.
There were a lot of big hits, a lot of big artists.
That's what I was kind of shooting for with the album, so.
What were some of your inspirations behind it? Like whether it's certain artists or certain things you wrote about?
Yeah, man, I really wanted to write about like some, songs that people could relate to. And basically just things that people could relate to, and a lot of it stems from like everything you might experience, like relationships. Orange County Line. That's just this is a song about home.
I was gonna say there is a lot of that small town relatability to the music, even going right down to the name of the EP itself. So, when you went and did this in Nashville, did you have a band that went with you?
I did not. Nope. It was all studio players.
Okay. I was going to say, there's a lot, that's a big thing in Nashville, and a lot of those guys are really, really talented, and a lot of people probably don't know that there's a lot of session people that's what they do for a living.
Well, it's cool, like, when you write a song and you go in there, and all you've heard it, like, just acoustically, and those guys are so good, man, they just make it come to life. It's pretty wild how they do that. But
when you're working with a session musician, how much time do you get to spend with them, like to work on the song? Like, do they just come in and do it, or are there notes to a song? Do they need to hear it beforehand?
They'll spend a couple days just listening to your song and working it out themselves, and then when you come in there, they'll do their part, and then after that, pretty much the whole next day is all vocal stuff. So,
okay, how long did it take you to do this EP down there?
2 days.
2 days.
Yeah.
I wondered because you ended that by saying that the next day was all vocal stuff. So I wondered if it was a very fast turnaround.
Yeah, it's usually like a 2-day thing.
Yeah. It sounds very, very good, and it's really impressive to hear that all that's done in just 2 days.
There were some really good players on it, man. Mm-hmm. And Dean, he's a good producer.
So these session musicians you're working with, did you have any part in finding them? Like, did you have to go hunt them down?
Oh, no.
Did they know people that they could put you in touch with to help bring this music to life?
Oh yeah. They Dean, he already had all the hookups, and so.
You mentioned Dean. Can you fill us in on who Dean is?
Yeah, so Dean's his dad's Roger Miller. He had pretty big songs back in the 50s, 60s, King of the Road.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Songs like that, and yeah, man, he contacted me on Instagram, and it was kind of weird how it all played out because I'd really just got kind of serious about writing songs earlier that year, and then I had already had the songs that I used for the EP, and it was crazy how it all just kind of happened like that. But
so did you already have all these songs written before you went down to Nashville?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, Orange County Line was the last song, and it was I was actually at work, man. I was doing construction that day, and I ended up writing that whole song. It was actually before. It was more of like I came at it more like a poetic standpoint, because usually, like when I write, it's more like me and my guitar, and then I'll try to form the lyrics with the chord progression there. But here recently, I've just been, writing it down in my notes or something, and then going to form like a chord progression around it.
I like that you mentioned how you wrote that. That's something I always wonder with other people that write music, whether they tend to come up with the music first and then put lyrics to it later, or if they tend to come up with lyrics first and then try to put music around that. You tend to do the music, or a little bit of both? Mm-hmm. How did most of this come about, you say? Was it a little bit of half and half, or was it mostly music first, lyrics later?
Yeah, it was about half and half, really, man. Yeah, Orange County Line, the lyrics to that song just kind of fell out of me. I was just like...
Those are the easy ones to write.
And that's kind of like been the fan favorite, I feel like. That's the one that I get the best feedback on. And
Did that play any part in why you named the EP after it? That one came together so easily and just felt so right?
Yeah, man. That one was the one that felt the most right. So I definitely feel like that was a good idea.
So you said you didn't have a band when you first went down there to Nashville. What were you doing with these songs before then? Was it just you and acoustic guitar?
Yeah, man, I wasn't even really playing anywhere. I just got into writing and basically how it happened. But.
So were you just making videos by yourself? Like, how did you get paired up with Dean? You said he got hold of you online. If you weren't playing with anybody, how did you guys meet?
I was posting videos on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember I was up there fishing one day, man, and I seen a message request from Dean Miller Music, and I was like, who's this guy, And then I seen
is this a spam account? Is this real?
Who are you and how much money do you want?
I seen the message, and like the first picture was him and Ronnie Dunn, and I was like, holy shit, man. Like, who's this dude? And yeah, man.
I think it's pretty amazing that, like, you didn't even have to do anything. Like, they reached out to you. Like, that says a lot. I think that's pretty awesome.
He works with a lot of, different artists, but yeah, he's worked with some big names.
That's got to be a heck of an impression, though.
That's what I mean.
Exactly, yeah.
To reach out, that's awesome.
First thing out of the gate, you get to have that kind of experience behind you, making your first appearance in the music. That's a really cool thing to be able to say. Awesome. You had the privilege to do.
Yeah, Omni's a good place too, man. It's like it wasn't really what I was expecting. I'd never been to a studio before, but it's just this little small place, man. And it's it's got all the gold records. It's got Miranda Lambert's first record in there.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where a lot of people kind of got their start. So.
Where is it in that? Is it more like downtown Nashville, or is it kind of tucked away on the outskirts?
It's like right in the middle. It's like downtown. Yeah.
Okay. So it's like heart of Nashville kind of thing. Now, you've got another single you've put out since then. One that came out here this past September.
Yep, that's Indiana and Me.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that one.
So that one, well, when I wrote that one, I kind of had the idea for it just being like basically just all acoustic song. And then I got linked up with Tater Johnson from the band 10 Years. And yeah, man, we went down there and kind of just chipped away at it for a long time. And there's actually a music video coming out, I think, this summer. So
stay tuned, everybody.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Go find Logan McKeighen and stay tuned for that.
Yeah, it's supposed to come out sometime this summer or early fall.
So when you get hooked up with these guys, when they get a hold of you, like what did they say to you? Like did they pitch on any kind of idea? Did they just say, "Hey, what you've done is really impressive. Let's go record something"? Like what's that like?
I mean, I think they record with so many different people, man. That's kind of like what they do. That's like their job. So it's, I mean, like they think I'm talented just from reaching out to me and stuff. But there's really not a whole lot of feedback like that type of way. But
they did they have to pitch you on going to Omni or?
Yeah, I think that's the studio that that the producer usually goes to.
One that they like to go to a lot. Yeah. I would imagine that if they've gone there before and had good success there, like to go back to the same fishing hole.
Right.
You said that it was just you and your guitar. You didn't have a band. You weren't playing out. When did you get into to writing then? Was it right around just shortly before all this? Did it all just happen that fast?
Yeah. It was like maybe 6 to 8 months before I actually went to the studio. Of course, I mean, you know, I've been playing since I was 14, but I'd wrote songs and stuff, you know, over the years, but it just seems like that little period of time was when I was like really heavy into writing, and then that's when he got a hold of me.
Mm-hmm. Had you ever played out with a band before?
I have, yeah. Mostly just acoustic shows. You know, I've played at the Mitchell Opera House. I've played at a couple A-Bait concerts or biker concerts and stuff like that. And, yeah, man, but it's kind of sporadic, really. You know, it's kind of all over the place. But yeah, as far as having like a full band, I've played more shows just me and my guitar, just acoustically, than a full band. But it's definitely a lot more fun with a full band.
Yeah. Have you been able to perform any of this stuff with a full band since then? I know it's been hard for a lot of people to do during this COVID period.
Yeah, that's definitely kind of been a factor. The last show I played was Friday Night on the Square. That was with a full band, Friday Night on the Square.
Where's that at?
Salem.
Yeah,
man. It was a pretty good turnout. They was having a car show and all kinds of cool stuff, so... but yeah, that was the last place I played with the full band. But yeah, we played a couple of my originals, and there was, you know, there wasn't like a whole lot of people who knew me or knew of the band, but yeah, it seemed to be pretty good. So,
are you guys out playing still?
Our schedules right now are so like conflicting.
Yeah,
it's hard to really. Man, it's been hard to even practice lately. And, I mean, our schedules are so just all over the place, but you know, I still try to do my homework and make sure that we're not just totally like lose all of our
cohesion. Don't want to lose all of your steam. Yeah, but you do have some guys you're playing with and trying to get out there and get in more places, right? You mentioned Orleans, the depot there. You said you've never played.
Never played at the depot.
That's in your own backyard.
I know, man. Yeah, surprisingly.
Oh, depot.
Still have not played the depot.
So what's the furthest away that you have played? I know you said you've gone down to Nashville and recorded, and you've played in places like Salem, but you've not played in your own backyard.
I know, it's weird.
You tend to go like further away?
Yeah, that just seems to be how it happens, man.
You just go wherever the fish are biting.
Pretty much.
Yeah, whoever will have you.
Yeah. Honestly, it could be better that way too, because if you're playing local all the time, you kind of miss that opportunity of being able to really spread out. There's still that option that it may happen. But the more that you get your name, get your foot more into more doors, there's more of a chance that people are going to hear from you from even further away.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Something like that makes it a lot better when you go out and play, because you might go to a different city and they actually love you more than what you thought your hometown would. And then next time, you know, that might become your next hometown. You never know what you're going to find whenever you just go out there and really like just take that chance on that.
Yeah, it seems like, well, I mean, everybody in town already knows I play anyway, so I guess that was kind of my thing, to just try to branch out and try to reach like newer audiences and stuff like that. So
when did you first start playing out?
The first show I ever played, I was 16. I played at I was 17. Played at the Campbellsburg Hoedown. So
Campbellsburg Hoedown.
Yeah, man. And then I had my first. I used to do demolition derbies in the summertime. I had my first show and my first demolition derby that day. So
you ever been to any rodeos or done anything like that? I bet you could find a good audience there.
No, I had a buddy. One of my buddies, he used to do rodeos. But yeah, I'd always go with him. It was a good time.
There's a big one over in Palestine, Illinois, every year. Usually, I think it's sometime around maybe September.
I've been to the ones in Double B's in Mooresville.
In Mooresville. That's kind of up north.
Yeah.
North of Bloomington. Yeah. I don't think I've ever been up quite that far. I've been up further than Mooresville, but I'm not familiar with the place. Yeah, but I didn't know they had a rodeo up there.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet, man.
You played there or just gone?
Oh, no. I just watched my buddy. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He's a bull rider, so.
Nice. I always like I like the calf roping, and I like the bulldogging.
Yeah, it's wild how they do that.
That was what was exciting to me. I always wish I could throw a rope like that, but never could figure that part out.
But last summer, I was telling him earlier before we got up on here, I was involved with a country band that did a couple of rodeos, and I had never been to one before. And now I can say that those aren't that whatever isn't going to be my first rodeo, but also like it takes a lot of power to be able to do that stuff. I don't know if I could get into a a certain space with something that big. Just watching them walk around was pretty scary to me, honestly.
I think yeah, man. Like bull riding, I think the scariest part just being in the chute, like just being on top of it. Because I've seen, there's been a couple times where the bull has actually like stood up on its back legs, and
And there's nowhere you can go in that chute.
No, man.
You're closed in.
I think
Ride
you can.
it out.
I think you can roll like under. There's the gate.
Like under the fence?
I think they leave it enough to where you can actually roll under the gate. But
Yeah, because I could
it'd still
see
be
if they got
scary.
real feisty, you get trapped in that chute real easily.
Man, yeah.
There are some big beasts there. There's some big horses there too. You ever seen like the big draft horses?
Oh yeah, dude.
Those things look like dinosaurs. You stand next to one.
Yeah, and then you get on.
Dinosaurs.
These guys get on the back of them, man. Yeah, it's wild.
There was a guy in Washington, place we used to frequent a lot. They had a ranch there, and he had some draft horses. And I remember I was in high school. I was, a small kid, and the neck on that thing was like 3 of me standing side by side. I was always just used to seeing quarter horses, like the horses that people ride, not draft horses that pull wagons and whatnot. But those things are massive.
Yeah, and they're scary, dude. Once they get going,
Oh yeah.
it looks kind of fun, but then again, it's just like I don't know if that's for me. Man.
It would be cool to be on one, but you realize very quickly if that thing decided it wanted to do something else, you couldn't stop it.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
I'll watch from a safe distance.
Yeah.
You can count me out.
I'll play the show where other people are doing that. What have you got cooking in the works since then? I know we talked before. You said you had some more music that you were working on.
Yeah, so I got 2 songs that I wrote, and then I got I have a song coming out that was pitched to me by some of the people in Nashville, and one of the dudes on it, he's actually wrote for like Jason Aldean and Travis Tritt and stuff like that. So that's what I'm pretty excited for, and then obviously the 2 I wrote. So
Nice.
So again, stay tuned, everybody. Logan McKeighen, go find him because you'll want to hear that whenever it comes out.
yeah, I've been trying to like add some little more like upbeat, less depressing type of stuff to my set. So, so yeah, we'll see how it goes.
A little more dancing tunes, a little less drinking tunes. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's popular. Isn't
It
it?
doesn't hurt to go a little honky tonk.
Yeah.
If I say so.
Little square dancing.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with Alan Jackson do it, and I feel like everybody else did it that right.
So when you write your songs, how long does it usually take you to write one? Like, do you ever? I know you said before, like Orange County Line, that was one that just felt like it kind of just poured out of you. Do you ever have some that just feel like a grind? Like you have the idea, say, for the chords, and then you can't think of a chorus or anything for like 6 months, and then one day, boom, you get it.
Yeah, that happens a lot. I mean, there's been songs that I still got songs in my notes that have been in there for almost a year. I got a lot of unfinished songs, but it usually it doesn't take. I mean, it doesn't take very long. I mean, maybe a couple months for me, but I just like I'll start different songs and then I'll just always come back to them. But then you got those songs like Orange County Line that just kind of falls out of you, and then. But
that's the nice thing about keeping track of it at notes. You got stuff you can go back to and revisit whenever you get that new inspiration. I used to do that sort of thing a lot and would get to the point where I would sometimes record little things on my phone for the same reason. You might get an idea for something, but not figure out how to finish it for a couple months. And I'm sure I've forgotten tons of stuff over the years because I was too stubborn to write it down.
What's really bad is like when you have a dream about it and then you're like, oh my God, I got to remember this.
You hear a really good song in your dream and you wake up and you scramble and trying to remember it before you forget it. I've done that.
I've done that, yeah.
It's a dream at first, and then it just becomes a nightmare trying to remember what it was.
It's like it's just gone forever, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could have been a hit, but you
Y'all
never know.
you guys have all had the same dream? Like,
I've had that dream before. There was a period of time I used to sleep with my guitar leaning up against my bed because I would wake up and I'd have an idea for something. And my way of remembering it was if I could sit and play it real quickly, then I'd probably remember it. But if I just tried to keep it in my head and go back to sleep, I'd forget it.
That's crazy.
We know the Mexican trumpets in Ring of Fire for Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
He heard those in his dream.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah.
honestly, I've never heard that story.
Huh.
I don't know how I remembered it, but I don't know. And then again, he's Johnny Cash. So.
Yeah, I feel good that somebody else has experienced this sort of thing before, because I have, but it sounds like a crazy thing to say out loud unless somebody else is like, yeah, I know what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was Tom Schultz of Boston. Back on their early records, they had More Than a Feeling, which was probably the biggest hit ever. Everyone knows that. It comes on the radio. You're driving from 50 to 70.
Mm-hmm.
Windows down, hair's flying everywhere, if you have hair, and not a care in the world. And I remember reading in an interview that those sections in that song were actually all different ideas of different songs that they had, and they ended up figuring out, well, these are in the same key, these are the same speed, why not combine them together, and then it
all just kind of work like puzzle pieces that just happen to all fit with one another.
I've come to find, like, writing ideas and stuff with different artists that I've grown up with, or just people I've met. Like, it's hard for me to write personally. Like, lyrically, I can't do very well, but I can always come up with just something that fits in really well. So I like more or less to come in on a project and know that there are some ideas or some elements that I can kind of feed off of, much of like what a studio musician would do, or someone that's kind of a calling guy. But as far as I'm concerned, I've got stuff that I wrote 6 or 7 years ago that it's hard to figure out what to do with it. So I always give that out to the option of other people. Like, what can we do with this then? It doesn't hurt to keep a hold of old ideas, because you never know what they're going to be in the future. But you still just want to don't focus on them too much, because the more that you try to do something with it, the more less interested you're going to get into it, and you're going to get burned out. And by the time that if it becomes something big, you're going to be like, I could have written this 7 years ago. Why couldn't?
Yeah, those guys from that era, man. That I really idolized all those guys, because how they wrote all those just timeless songs, man. I mean, it's
crazy.
Well, like, I wonder, like, if the music nowadays are going to be as timeless as those. You know, I feel like they would be. But
like 20 years from now, will people look back on this music and feel the same way that people felt about music from the 70s 20 years after that? Because that's still playing on radio stations today. How much of stuff from today you think will still be playing on a radio station 20 years from now?
Hopefully all of it still. I just love music.
You're going to have to change the name of the radio stations. What's that mean, where they've got, you know, all the greatest hits from the 70s and the 80s and today's music? Yeah. Today's music is slowly starting to encompass, like, 3 decades. Yeah. There's 70s, 80s, and then everything else. We're going to have to start changing it up a little bit.
It's fun getting older.
The 90s are becoming the classics, and today's music is kind of will be the classics, like, by the time 2030 hits.
Yeah. You start to feel old when you start hearing, like, Pearl Jam on the classic rock station.
Oh, dude, I hate that.
You're not even that old, Kendall.
No. I mean, I just hate the idea that that's, like, all the music that I grew up listening to. Like, I wasn't as big into the most pop that I, like, listened to whenever I was growing up, going to, like, middle school and stuff, was, like, maybe Maroon 5 or the newer No Doubt stuff, which No Doubt goes back to, what was the first?
That's probably 90s.
It was, like, 93 or 94.
So, like, kind of mid-90s. So it's, like, I grew up on all this older 90s music in a time where all of my friends were listening to more just hip-hop and rap. So, like, Lil Wayne was, like, really, really big in school whenever I was going through that. And I just wasn't in for it, because I learned off of AC/DC and 38 Special and Led Zeppelin and all of just the greats that inspired others to do what they're doing today. And it's just, what is music at this point, you know?
Did you grow up listening to a lot of country music, I assume?
I grew up listening to everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my dad, well, he was, like, more of the classic rock type of dude.
Okay,
so, and then, like, my grandpa and all the people on my mom's side, they were more like, you know, classic country.
That sounds a lot like how I grew up. Same sort of thing. And then as time went on, you kind of gravitated more toward the countryside?
Yeah, but when I was playing with the band, we would, like, incorporate a lot of southern rock type of feel.
Mm-hmm. And it seems like that fits in really well with the country music. There's a little bit of an overlap there. Like, kind of, it's rock with a country kind of twinge to it.
Yeah, we would cover, like, Marshall Tucker, Leonard Skinner, you know, all the big southern rock bands, you know. So
yeah. So now, did you ever play, like, electric guitar or any of that, or have you always just played acoustic?
Just acoustic.
Just acoustic. You ever had any desire to pick up an electric guitar and just make a ton of noise?
Oh yeah. Yep.
It gets addicting. You guys, maybe you've never ran into this sort of thing, but you ever get told you're too loud as a band? You ever run into that playing in a bar?
Well, when we were playing at my old bass player's house, yeah, the neighbors and shit, yeah.
Yeah.
The neighbors complained?
The neighbors, oh yeah, yep. It's pretty shocking, but.
Run into that sort of thing in the band. That's a side effect of it. You know, it's hard to do it and do it quietly because it's not fun to do. So I'll tell you what, speaking of doing things and not being quiet about it, we're going to take a short break. Then we'll come right back. We'll pick up where we left off.
Wake up, Kendall.
Stay tuned, everybody.
What are you talking about?
If you want to support the Conscious Effort podcast, you can go to consciouseffortcreative.com, click on shop, and get your very own effort t-shirt. And if you use code CEPOD at checkout, you can save 25%. That's the letter C, the letter E, pod, for 25% at checkout. Shop now, consciouseffortcreative.com. And now, back to the show. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. Logan, right before we left off, we were talking about playing in bands, making loud noise and all that. Real quickly, though, we were talking between the break. Can you tell everybody what your social media stuff is, where they can find you on Facebook and Instagram?
Yeah, Facebook, it's just Logan McKeighen Music. And then Instagram, it's Logan McKeighen _music.
Mm-hmm. We'll put all that up for you right underneath here so you can find that. You can go look it up, save it, like it, follow it, subscribe to it. With that being said, let's jump back to where we were in our previous conversation here. You said you grew up listening to a mixture of like classic rock and country music. You played some like southern rock, kind of like the in-between sort of thing. I always wonder, other musicians, what other music they're interested in or other music that they draw inspiration from outside of their typical genre. Is there other stuff you listen to that maybe you borrow bits and pieces from that help you in the music that you write?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it just comes from having such a broad range of just, I listen to everything. So I could be listening to Bruce Hornsby 1 second and listening to Tupac the next, man. It's just one of those things. It's like, but I get a little inspiration from everything.
What's some stuff that like you grew up listening to that like sticks out in your mind when you think about like your childhood or music that got you interested in the music and wanting to play it?
Well, I guess if I was, in the truck with my dad, it'd be like AC/DC, Van Halen, stuff like that. And then, if I was riding around with my grandpa or something, it'd be like Merle Haggard or George, like all the old outlaw country type dudes. Yeah. So, like a little bit of a blend of those, I guess you could say.
Was there ever any band that you heard or any record you heard that gave you that light bulb moment that made you think, that's what I want to do. I want to play music?
Well, how it really started, man, was I think I was at my dad's house. My Aunt Chelsea was there, and I was playing Amarillo by Morning just on the YouTube, and I was singing along with it. She's like, "Well, you kind of sing," and I was like, "Really?" And then I think it was a couple months later, man, I was taking guitar lessons. So
you mentioned singing, so this is something I noticed. Both in your music and the first time I met you here, you have that very archetypical, deep, gutsy kind of country voice. I assume a lot of that is something a person's born with, but is there any kind of singing technique that goes into that whenever you go to sing a country tune and you're trying to kind of pull that out?
Well, I mean, I try to sound like myself as much as I can. I mean, you'll have your influences and stuff, and like, it's not like a real shocking thing that like people will kind of like not really steal, but I don't know, they just take like other people's phrasing, like maybe their favorite artist. But I just try to be as original as I can.
Do you find that very easy to do? And I ask that as somebody who doesn't sing. Like, it's not ever anything that I really practice. Nothing I never really thought of being a singer. The few times that I have tried to sing something I wrote, like for a demo, I always find, not being a singer, I have a habit of trying to sing like other people that I like. Do you ever run into that, or did you run into that early on?
When I do covers, man, it's hard to not do that, because like when you play the cover, it's like you're hearing how they do it,
I had a singer friend tell me that once, like especially about covers specifically, that it's really hard to not try to sing a cover like the person that originally sang?
Oh
it?
yeah, it's difficult.
I could relate.
Yeah, because Kendall here sings, so I'm sure that's something that you can relate to more. I've never ran into that.
I when it comes to singing like covers of stuff, I tend to focus more on the aspect of like emphasizing certain consonants or like certain rhythms of other people versus like I don't try to sound like their voice because everybody's voice is unique in their own way, and certain people it won't cut it, or that will be something that I feel like will damage my voice overnight. And if I got another set to play and if I'm playing more songs than that I'm singing in the next one, I can't like risk having like a really like shot voice, like 'cause that does not go over well. I've watched bands do it before. I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah, you have to. It's kind of you have to find like that weird balance of like trying to preserve your voice. But
do you have singers that like you really admire, like a top 5 sort of list, like favorite guys that
I've got a lot of favorites. I would say that like an artist that I really kept up on over the years and like all of his albums and all that shit was probably Jason Aldean. So that's probably like a big one for me. And I've always felt like I could relate to a lot of his songs. So,
is there anybody guitar-wise you feel that way about? I know you said you play guitar, but singing's probably maybe more your number one instrument, I'm going to guess, and maybe the guitar is kind of number 2. Is there anybody that plays guitar you feel that way about?
I've always been a big Jimmy Page fan.
It's hard not to be.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of classic stuff there.
Jimmy Page, Jimi Hendrix, you know, all those old, you know, greats. So,
You ever tried like into slide kind of stuff, or do you just stick to the standard acoustic sort of playing?
I'd like to learn someday, like how to do like more solos and stuff and all that. But yeah, it's just basically just all chords for me, man.
Yeah, I'd heard like there's some slide stuff on your record, Orange County Line there. So I wondered if that was anything that you ever dabbled in yourself.
No,
or
I'd
if that
like
was
to.
That I got a slide. I've never actually learned how to use it properly. It's just a noise making tool for me. But I kind of feel the same way. It's something I wish I knew how to do and do well. But
Yeah, well, it's like I mean, I don't know if there's like really is there like a correct way to actually do it?
I mean, I think I don't know if there's a correct way. I know there are wrong ways to do it.
I've heard of people using
I can tell you that much.
beer bottles and shit.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. That actually looks really cool in a bar. People really get amped up about that. I don't know why, but it just looks cool to them. A couple of slide players I like to think of whenever I have a slide, and I try to practice on it every once in a while just to kind of get used to it more. Open tunings are really big for that, and it helps out a lot, as well as a couple of bands that I'll listen to for that kind of a thing are Allman Brothers and Derek Trucks' bands. Like Derek Trucks, I think is probably the best slide player of like, not like, what do we call that? Paddle or a pad steel?
There's a pedal steel.
Pedal steel. Like
Yeah.
there are definitely other ones like that I think would be better to look at for that aspect. But just playing guitar and playing slide, Derek Trucks would be the guy that I would go to watch how he does it. But the one thing that I learned, like, once I got a slide, I thought, you just put it up against the strings and you push them and you just slide around. Now you have to let that thing glide against.
Yeah.
Because those frets are still, you're going to still hear it unless it's unless you have like a fretless guitar, which are not very often seen anywhere. But I'd say that it'd be something that'd be really cool to learn more for myself, and I would recommend that, especially if you're going to be doing this kind of stuff. It'd be something that you could throw in there to kind of give maybe even more a little bit of a southern rock feel if you wanted to do that in your music at some point. It definitely adds that extra element that's really cool and like, whoa.
Yeah, I really like Billy Gibbons. ZZ Top when he's playing.
Yeah.
When he's playing, he plays a lot of slide. You know.
Yeah.
I actually I guess I never really noticed it until we started talking about it. But yeah, he does, man. He plays a lot of slide.
He's a mean guy.
Man, yeah.
He's got a hell of a beard too. Damn it.
It is, yeah.
I love it.
About the only guy that can make Ryan's beard look small. If you saw Ryan, you get that joke. Now, you talked about playing covers, or do you ever have like any favorite covers that you like to throw on your set? Like, what's some kind of stuff? I know you mentioned like Leonard Skinner and Marshall Tucker Band. Are there any like favorites?
I've always covered "Can't You See" by the
Can't
Marshall
You
Tucker.
See?
Yeah, that's a big one I always cover. "Fire on the Mountain." always covered that one as well.
You talking about like the Bob Dylan Fire on the Mountain or
Marshall Tucker.
Marshall Tucker Fire on the Mountain?
There's probably a lot of different
I'm more
versions.
familiar with Bob Dylan than I am
Really?
Marshall Tucker, so that's why I asked.
Oh man, I'm sure there's so many different versions of that song. It's just one of those songs that everybody covers, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Bob Dylan was one of those guys. He wrote a lot of songs that people ended up covering, like All Along the Watchtower. Jimi Hendrix ended up doing a version of that. What was the other big one?
Was it Knocking on Heaven's Door?
Yeah, Knocking on Heaven's Door. Guns N' Roses did that in the 90s, and that went over really well. It's just kind of weird to think that there's a lot of songs that people have covered that they got a lot of attention from, and it was all from him.
You know, a lot of people don't really realize that Bob Dylan was actually like one of the first rappers too. He was, I mean, he would incorporate like.
I could see that in a way because I've always kind of argued that Bob Dylan and I would even throw Jimi Hendrix in this category a little bit. When the way they sang, they almost kind of spoke more melodically than they actually sang. Like a lot of the vocals are kind of offbeat. Some of them are kind of off tune.
But that just adds to like the rawness, I feel like.
Yeah, I never thought about it in that kind of respect, but in a way, I could see where it kind of lays some groundwork for that sort of thing.
It kind of has that connection point between like really old like blues, like B.B. King and all those guys, like Jimi Hendrix and them are the ones that kind of connected that with, you know, storytime teller rap. Like Notorious B.I.G. is like one of the big guys that's really big about storytime, like kind of rapping and just here's how my day.
Well, like the song, I Got a Story to Tell.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like they were kind of like this cool like transitional period between them that you could hear it in both aspects and how the music grew to be able to do that kind of a thing. That's really cool.
Well, he was a great lyricist too, man. I mean,
It's nuts.
You know, it's, I don't know of anybody who's really kind of came close to him, but.
On the subject of playing covers, is there ever a cover that you really wanted to do but just never been able to? Like either you couldn't sing it or had some weird instrument that you just couldn't pull off?
I'm sure there has, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been a lot of songs. I'm like, man, I'd love to cover that song, and then you just know it ain't gonna happen.
It just doesn't fit in your wheelhouse. Or it's like I don't have that thing to do it. So you mentioned the group of guys that you're playing with and stuff. You guys aren't playing out currently. Is there anything you have kind of off in the future? Any kind of festivals or maybe like milestones you guys are looking at trying to hit?
We don't have anything planned as of that, but we do have a song called Black Iron Rails. It kind of teeters over into that more southern rock kind of feel.
Okay.
Awesome.
And it's a song about a train conductor. And,
It's an original song?
Yeah, it's an original song. Andy, he's my lead guitarist. He sent me the just basically the melody, what he had, and I listened to it for a couple of days, and then one day, man, I just pulled into Huck's parking lot and just wrote that whole song. And it's probably one of my favorite ones to play. I can't wait till we get it recorded.
Was that different? Like when you guys were putting that song together, was that different than putting together your own music?
It was the first time I'd ever really did that, like, because
with a group.
Yeah, because I've never co-wrote with anybody, and I mean I wrote the lyrics to that, but he came up with the melody. So.
Did that one feel like it came together any easier, any harder than trying to work on your own stuff, where you're kind of creating all of it? Or
That actually felt like it came together really easy.
Yeah.
I mean, because he sent me the melodies, and it was just easier for me because, like, just I guess, if you go on a drive or something and you're just like kind of listening to it and you're trying to form like some lyrics or the general feel of the song. And I think he actually already had the song title. So then I just kind of incorporated, like, he's a train conductor, and the song's actually kind of set not in this time frame. It's like back in like the 20s, 30s. That's kind of like the idea we kind of have for it.
Nice.
The group, does it have a name yet, or is it still just kind of in the working stages?
It's just in the working stages.
Okay.
We thought about calling it the Logan McKeighen Band or just using my name. We were the Buckshot Band for like a week. It's just
Yeah. I've had those where you're kind of fishing for names, and one week you're this. I had a group that went through 3 different names.
Yeah, it's just one of those deals.
One of the recent bands that I've been involved with, that I was telling you about earlier, it's a newer one. We went through 5 or 6 names, and we haven't even played a show yet. So I think you guys are doing fine.
I remember now what I wanted to ask you. The group, How did you come in touch with those guys? Was it through your music that you had already written and recorded, or did you meet them through other ways?
It definitely, it helped. I mean, well, I was already playing with one dude, and he kind of met them through like, I think it's like Bandmate or something like that.
Is that like
Craigslist, Bandmate?
Okay, yeah.
All
Like
pretty
wanted
much.
ads for a musician
Right?
kind of deal.
Yeah.
That's a very old school way to do it. You don't see that a whole lot anymore, but
Yeah. I don't know how they would even form a band back in the day, man. Like, I
You
guess
put-
it's word of mouth.
yeah,
I guess.
either word of mouth or I guess newspaper ads.
Yeah, classifieds. Yeah.
Classifieds. Yep.
Singer looking for, bassist, guitarist, whatever, or band looking for a specific member. Which I wonder if you could even still do that nowadays. I feel like that'd be a really cool project just to see. Let's put it out in the paper and see what kind of a band we could form out of it. Like, I feel like it'd be kind of wild. You never know who would come out of that and what music you could make with that kind of influences just coming out of the woodworks.
That kind of reminds me of that group. This has been years ago now, called the Postal Service. And didn't those guys? They all knew one another or knew of one another, but I believe the way that they made the music is they just sent it back and forth.
Yeah.
And
Also, they were like mailman type dudes.
No, they were musicians, but I think the band was called the Postal Service because I don't think the group ever actually got together to make any of it. Like one guy would, do a demo and he'd send it to the rest of the band, and then they might add like a vocal line to it and they'd send it to the rest of the group, and then they might add guitar to it and send it back and forth. And I don't know, I could be wrong on this, but I
pretty
don't
interesting,
think that they ever were like got together to do it. They did it all just send the music back and forth.
There's the Killers before they wrote Mr. Brightside and all their really big hits before their first album. There's a live video you can watch of them playing Mr. Brightside where they tell the story of how the band started, and it was from a classified segment that the singer made, and he got in contact with the guitar player, and the guitar player had like an 8-track, and he showed him it, and that was the first like demo he had, and that's what kind of where the band kind of grew from there. I mean, heck, if I could get together with the people and make the next Mr. Brightside, I'd put a postal ad in right now about it.
Yeah. Make a lot of money off of that.
Yeah, probably.
You can buy a brand new drum set, Kendall.
Oh, big drum set.
Big drum set. You could have 2 kick drums.
2 drum sets.
Yeah, but you couldn't play them both, though. There'd be no sense in having 2 drum sets.
You want to play drums, Tyler?
Dude, I always wanted to play drums. That was actually one of the first instruments I ever got as a kid. I wanted to be a drummer very badly.
See, I didn't know that you played drums earlier on. I thought you always were a guitar player and you just
No.
kind of
Don't forget the trumpet. We play trumpet.
Yeah,
Me and
yeah.
Tyler play trumpet. I don't know why I'm looking over.
Yeah, so I don't know how you got
What
started. in
camera am I
music.
supposed to look at? I don't know.
They're all scattered
doesn't
around
matter
here.
because they're looking at you.
I don't like it. Anyways, yeah, we play trumpet. So, if you want, Logan, if you want to play, Johnny Cash cover, just hit us up.
Yeah, that's right. We'll play some Mexican trumpet in the
We
background.
got this shit. We got this
Have you always played like just guitar and just sang, or I mean, like Kyla was saying, did you ever play anything like school band or anything like that?
No, I never did, man. I play guitar, and I've also tried to play like banjo and bass, mandolin, stuff like that. But I never got super into it.
Like Kyla was saying, we were band geeks in school, so we were trumpet players. And then before that, I wanted to be a drummer. So we had, growing up, we had a piano, and then there were guitars. And Dad used to like to play like Bob Dylan and Bob Seger. He'd play some Willie Nelson. And then I got a drum set. I did not know anything about beats. I just knew that it made noise. And I ended up playing trumpet in the high school band. Because everybody signed up for percussion, so that got filled up real quickly. And then I wanted to play saxophone, because saxophone's cool, right? Play some sexy, jazzy saxophone.
Yeah.
Over a nice candlelit place.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great way to make friends and make trouble. But I couldn't make a sound out of a reed to save my life, so I ended up a trumpet player.
Yeah. I tried out for band, and I wanted to be a percussionist of some sort. I mainly wanted to be a drummer, but quads or snare, I would have been willing to learn that, but they already had all those spots filled back at 6th grade. So I had
Same here.
So I just focused on guitar, hung out with some buddies, and did some work at church, and like played in a praise band. And eventually, it was probably my junior or senior year. Our band director left, and we got a new one. And he was actually looking for a guitar player, and they had a bass player already in the band. And they were looking around. He's like, "Does anybody in here play guitar? You want to do that?" And they're like, "No, we know this guy that's a junior that plays really well." And that's how I got in with the pet band. So I never was in pet band, but I played with them for like a year or two.
You were guilty by association.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We ended up like doing. I went in there one morning and we ended up playing Thunderstruck just as a joke. And the director was in his room like doing homework of his own, and he told us to keep it quiet. So I was like, I brought it down a little bit, and everybody in the room started getting hyped up. It's like 8:30 in the morning, and he comes out there and he's like, "Kendall, you want to come to the pep game tonight and play that?" And I was like, "Sure." And that's kind of how I kind of got my foot in the door there. And
Accidentally got yourself a gig.
yeah, I played about 4 or 5 games doing that, and then played a couple of pep sessions. The original arrangement for Crazy Train that they had only had one half of the solo section.
Yeah, we had a guy that played the Crazy Train solo to that.
Yeah.
And same sort of deal. You got to like stretch it out because the pet band version is
Yeah.
shrunk down.
And we were looking at it, and they're like, "Can you play Crazy Train?" And I'm like, "I know how to play it. I don't know if it'll like work really well in this setting, but I'm all for it." And I didn't realize what concert pitch and
Those tunings
things
are
like that.
different.
And in order for me to play it, which I think the original song was written in E flat tuning, and it was played in A flat key. The concert version was in C, so I had to like tune my guitar down. I do this because I'll explain that, but it had to be down to like C tuning in order for me to be able to get to it.
Yep,
And
I ran into that.
I had just bought this pedal that has this pitch shifter adjustment piece into it, so I did this whole like chord and I brought it down. Everyone's like, "Whoa,
Really?
did you just tune your guitar?" I'm like, "Not really."
I cheated.
And we ended up playing
Magic.
it. We ended up going through it, and I played the solo, and like everybody just kind of, "Whoa, you can do that?" And I'm like, I have been playing it a lot. I don't play the stuff you guys normally do, but this is just what I've been doing, and it worked out really well for a year or two, and it was a lot of fun to do that with them, and I made a lot of friends through that. Kind of boosted my self-esteem throughout that time period as well. But now everybody reminds me of that, and I'm just like, man, that was before I was famous.
Yeah, it seems like the kids, they like back in the. It seems like Crazy Train's like the one song that everybody's like,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
like, dude, can you play guitar? Can you play Crazy Train?
Yeah. It's either that or Eruption or Freebird. Those
Or
three
Stairway
are like,
to Heaven or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Stairway to
Yeah.
Heaven.
I learned parts of Stairway to Heaven. I never
too,
really
yep.
learned to play it all the way through because it's like 11 minutes. And
Oh, yeah.
I just didn't have the patience to sit and learn the whole way through. Because, actually, we did play it out live once at the Catfish Festival. I think it was the only time we ever played that song.
You see, you guys played Catfish, but you didn't play Catfish.
Ryan ripped out his vocal cords trying to sing Robert Plant at the very end there.
Oh, I could see that.
That's what you got to do to hit those notes, man.
It's nuts. Robert Plant.
He sings a lot in falsetto. It's like, that's wild, man.
Mm-hmm.
He has one of those very distinct voices. It's like I kind of put him and Stevie Nicks in the same register because they both kind of do that. They'll hold out a note and they'll kind of go down out of pitch a little bit and bring it right back in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they were two guys that did that the most. Everybody else just kind of would stay in line with it, but they were able to really move the music that way or just make you feel a certain way. Like I used to play, I would play anything by Zeppelin. When he would do that, I would just like get this chill down my back, like, shit, how can I do that? How does that work? What notes should I hit if I want to write a song and do that?
Mm-hmm.
Because that'd be awesome.
I heard a story once that when they were recording some of that music back when they were doing, was it Led Zeppelin 4 or whatever, in the house,
Yeah.
that he liked to sing in the tub because he liked the reverb from it. You ever found that sort of thing as a singer? Like you walk into certain rooms that just have a really good sound, whether it's like maybe like a big church or a big hallway or something like that.
Yeah, you start to kind of get an ear for it. You really do.
You ever try anything weird like that, like recording wise, or is it just more follow the rules kind of stuff?
I would like to,
Yeah.
but whatever the circumstances are, but
Sometimes it's hard to do some of that in the studio because it's you don't have like a big. There's not just a church next door you can go over and sing in a big empty.
Well, usually
hall,
the
so we
vocal
say-
booths are pretty small. It's just kind of.
Yeah, we say that being next door to a church that has a big empty hall. But if it wasn't here,
I know, I was just shit talking. It's fine.
The best acoustics I've ever found were probably at the Mitchell Opera House.
oh, Mitchell Opera House.
Yeah.
That's one of the places you said you have played, right?
Yeah, that place is insane, man. As far as acoustics go,
Well, I'll tell you what.
It's like a really old timey type of building. So
It sounds like a really cool place to go and check out sometime. So if you're ever there, you have to give us a heads up so that way we can get a chance to go see you. And everybody else, make sure you go follow Mr. Logan McKeighen here so you can stay up to date. If he's ever going to be there, you can go see him too. Getting my cue here. It's our time to head out. Any last words?
just thanks to everybody who's listened to my album, man. All this, all the support.
Orange County Line.
Check it out. It's really cool.
Spotify, I assume Apple Music, all that fun stuff. Favorite places to go. Look it up.